The Trailblazers get ready for their first preseason game on Friday, but Shaedon Sharpe is out 4 to 6 weeks with a shoulder. Robert Williams has a hammy. Matisse Thybulle has a knee. It's all starting all over again, Craig. But hey, at least the Fan Fest was a success. Denny Avdia, oh my God, I screwed his name. Avdia. I'm going to leave that in there to teach myself. Avdia is a fan favorite after Fan Fest. Joe Cronin was roaming around the arena talking to fans who were very positive, by the way. I wrote a story on that. Welcome to the Blazer Focus podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, joined by Craig Birnbach, who did not come to Fan Fest, but I was there. You missed out on some very boring basketball, but the fans were excited and having fun. However, before we get to that, 'cause we are going to talk about that, but before we get to that, the number one thing we have to talk about, by far, is the first things I said in the intro, and I know you want to talk about it. It's that our guy, Shaedon Sharpe, I say our guy because we have high hopes for young Shaedon. We believe in Shaedon's potential. He missed 50 games last year. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, which if it's 6 weeks, it means 13 games missed, but we all know you never really know with those kind of injuries, right? A strained shoulder could be longer. We'll find out. But man, this is one of the last things I should say this team needed was one of the young building blocks to get hurt again. Craig.
Clarity.
What
That's
do you got
what we're
say?
hoping
What do
for,
you got to
right?
say?
That's the
clarity.
key.
You can't get clarity. One of your best prospects is on the shelf. Craig, devastating.
And it's a shoulder, and it's not a – here's the thing about that. What I was most interested was the responses of his teammates about the injury. And they weren't like, oh, no big deal. They were like, oh, man, we're just so disappointed for him, and we're just trying to keep his spirits up. So, when he went down in that practice, they were like, oh, that's not great. You know what I mean? And shoulders are tricky. I'm no doctor. So I'm not going to sit here and say, but when you have a shoulder and you're out, not playing and not working it for 6 weeks, you can't just jump back in, even if it heals perfectly in that time. You got to build some strength back up. I'll be shocked if he's back in 6 weeks. I think 2 months is your minimum on that. And
wait. But what if it's 4 weeks to heal and then 2 weeks to ramp back up?
I mean, I think you're being real optimistic, and I'll take it. I'm just saying, shoulder injuries are tough, and especially when you've had them before. I mean, that means it's just not. It's not like you're lucky that it's not surgery right now. You know what I mean? That they decided he didn't need surgery and they think it can heal. And they could call it a small tear all you want. It's still a tear. And it means the shoulder's not stable. That's why he's in a sling, as far as they're worried about it. He's hurt the shoulder before. So it just stinks because half the fun is saying who's going to start at the 1 and the 2. And now you're like, well, that's over. We know what's going to happen. And I want to see Scoot and Sharpe play together. I want to see Simons and Sharpe play together. Even though I don't believe that's the future, I want to see these guys play together. I don't really love Simons and, Scoot together. I just don't see it as the future because there was they blew the Dame and CJ up because they didn't think it was the way to get to a title. So you're not going to say, oh, let's do it with CJ Dame light, and that's going to work. So, I don't understand the argument sometimes. I'm like, the whole thing was everyone kept saying you can't win with CJ and Dame at the guards.
As your best two players.
Right. Well, guess what? Then you certainly can't win with Scoot and Simons your best player because I don't think Simons will ever be as good as Dame. And Scoot has got to be the Dame in this scenario. He can't be the CJ. We've seen the shooting. So I'm just bummed, I really wanted to see Sharpe. I feel like we got 1 month of what Sharpe could be, you know what I mean? And then little injury that turned into a bigger injury. And now here we are. So it's just a bummer.
So apparently in practice late last week, he drives the lane. He goes up. He does a wrap around somebody to pass out to the corner. Beautiful pass, everyone says, but then he got contacted by somebody, fell to the floor, everyone, based on what I was told, was like, oh, like you could tell right away it was a pretty bad fall. And then, of course, it's his left shoulder. Now, this is left shoulder. He does all the shooting with his right shoulder. So maybe that can help, speed things along. But Chauncey Billups said yesterday or Monday, we're recording this Wednesday, that, they're optimistic it's going to be 4 to 6. But he did indicate, if he needs longer, then he needs longer and we'll deal with it. And a lot of people seem to be saying it's definitely going to be longer. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on a podcast sometimes, but I'm going to be optimistic. But if it's 5 weeks and he misses 17 games, okay, just make sure you play 60 of the other 65 because, the fans need to see you. The media needs to see you. The franchise needs to see you.
The franchise
so
needs to see you.
know. I firmly believe though, like to me, there's no doubt Shaedon is the most talented cat on the team and has the best chance to become a star. No, he has the most talent, period. Who has more talent than him?
Simon's pretty darn good. I hate to jump on,
Shaedon's bigger, 6'5", which, height matters. I think there's definitely a comparison in terms of athleticism, but even Ant has admitted that Shaedon's more athletic than he is. Yes. So, it's close, but still, I think that the better athlete who's a little bit bigger, and can go in the lane and dunk on anybody, and at least will try to dunk on anybody. That's pretty significant. So, and he's such a babe in the woods still. He's still just a little kid in a lot of different ways. But to me, at the end of his rookie year, that last 10-game stretch when he was averaging 25, 6 and 5 or whatever, and then that stretch earlier last season when they had him out there, he played 40 minutes or more, like 7 or 8 times, in part because Ant was out and then Shaedon missed some time. Excuse me, Scoot. I keep getting those two confused. But anyway, they kind of probably overdid it in that stretch, but he had a killer stretch where he was averaging like 30 points on 55% shooting and 46 on 3. Like it was crazy. And then the core started acting up. You could see his numbers slow. Then he went out, then he came back, then he did surgery, etc. So I think he's already shown in a small enough sample size that dude can be phenomenal, but you just want to see it longer. But I'm not really worried about him other than now. Is he just injury prone, which is unfair this early, but you just have to start wondering because things just keep popping up. But again, he's still super young. He's super talented. I think ultimately he's going to be fine.
I agree that Sharpe, there's less doubt about Sharpe than there is Scoot, just because it's a different position, point guard's a special position. You have to do more than just be athletic and be skilled. You have to have the mind for it. You have to be able to adapt and be the leader on the court as opposed to just be super talented. And obviously if you elevate to an all-star level, things change. But what we've seen from Shaedon is that he can shoot, he can dunk, he's athletic as heck. He's not scared, of not just dunking on people, of taking shots. He's got that mentality of like, yeah, I'm good, and I'm going to be fine. But he hadn't played basketball. Like he didn't even play. His college thing got blown up. I mean, he literally hasn't played since AAU on a consistent basis, and that stinks. And every time we get there, in 10 years, we might look back at this and forgo, oh yeah, that's right. It took him a little bit. Patrick Ewing, when he came into the league, he had a bad knee, and everyone's like, is he going to be injury prone? And then he played till he was 472 years old at the center. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't always.
Pat Ewing was 175 years old.
Like, people forget he played for Orlando. He was still playing for Orlando and Houston. It was bizarre. Like, people are like, didn't he retire with the Knicks? I'm like, oh, I wish he did. But he did not. And he played till 40.
He was in Boston, wasn't he?
It's just a mess. I don't even like thinking about it.
Didn't he do Boston?
He played for it was terrible. But I'm just saying, that injury prone thing went away. It was like, oh, Steph Curry, it went away. Steph Curry couldn't get, past the ankles. And now we look back and go, that guy, oh yeah, I forgot about that. He had 2 years where people are like, I don't know if he can ever stay healthy. And now here he is, an elder statesman and still playing at a level. So yes, I agree. But I'm not talking about 10 years. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about watchability for the team in which we're talking about. And it is less watchable without Shaedon Sharpe. It just is.
This ain't Club Shay Shay.
I'm just saying. I want to see it, and fans want to see it. So it's a bummer And
it is a bummer.
That's it. Like, is it catastrophic? No. But are the first 2 weeks of the season less interesting now because Sharpe won't be playing? Yes, because the people that will be playing instead of him are not interesting. So, and are not, and the franchise doesn't pivot on them. So,
facts.
It stinks. And we couldn't even get there. Like, we couldn't get a week out. Like, we had 2 injuries for a week. You're like, what? Like, the first one's
We have 3. Matisse is dealing with a knee. He's a backup guard.
Right,
he's in a rotation. But he's not impact guy.
For
but
Matisse.
Still. Yeah.
I'm sad for Matisse. I'm sad for you because there's no better interview in the locker room. So I have sadness, but I enjoy good defense, but I'm not super pumped to go, look at Matisse, shift on that defense. Like, that's not why I'm watching this team that's going to not go to the playoffs. Like, what a rotation. Like, that's not that exciting. I want to see Sharpe try to dunk on 3 people. I want to see him take a step out 3. I want to see him and Scoot work together in the backcourt. And now we won't for a little while. And I hope to goodness that shoulder heals in the 4 weeks. He builds up strength in 2, and he's back in 6. And that we don't get the, it's still not there. Or, the shoulders are interesting because they often lead to surgery at some point, All
right. Your boy Ewing played for Seattle.
Yep.
And then Orlando.
Yep, told you.
I was thinking of Shaq. Shaq was in
Boston.
Yeah. Shaq played for a bunch of teams down the stretch, didn't he? Shaq was all over the place. I know where I'm digressing here, but I just have
Cleveland. Don't forget Cleveland.
I drafted him in my fantasy league that year. Thinking he's going to tear it up in Cleveland. And the very first game of the season, he was unstoppable, and then he ran out of gas.
Because you know what he wasn't in? He was not in shape.
He was not in shape. Although in 23 minutes that year, he averaged 12 and 7 in 23 minutes. But they only played 23 minutes. But
he was not in shape, but he was still
unguardable. He was also 37. Yeah, I know. Yeah, when he was fired up.
You can't guard a mountain. Like, it's impossible.
No. But he went LA, Miami, Phoenix, Cleveland, Boston. Then he was done.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So next, the first injury that came out, of course, was Robert Williams. Hamstring, unrelated to the knee. Chauncey said yesterday they're optimistic. 2 weeks. Robert Williams talked yesterday, said he feels optimistic as well. Craig thinks he's Dr. Birnbach. Anyway, so Robert said he's already ramping up, doing the ramp up to participation by doing certain drills and doing individual workouts. He's passing incremental strength testing, et cetera, on the hamstring. He should actually be back. If it's just 2 weeks, he will be back before the regular season, which starts on October 23rd. This is another guy, like, the future probably doesn't include him, but what you could get for him,
you'd like him to do stuff,
will contribute to the future. So yes, you want him to do stuff that makes another team say, I want that stuff on my roster. Here's a pick.
Not keep getting hurt, which is what he's done in his career, unfortunately. It's a soft tissue injury, so it's not it's not the knee, it's not something.
Listen to you.
To me, it's just going to take. Well, it just takes time to heal.
Dr. Birnbach.
Hamstring. Have you ever pulled a hamstring?
I never completely pulled one. I've tweaked one.
So let me say this: I never had, and I thought, I'm immune. And I will say, I'm like, it's so weird when people pull hamstrings. It's like they can't walk. Like you watch them, they're like pull up, and I'm like, that's weird. I feel like you could tough things out, like when you hurt your knee. I ran at first place in an old man softball league, and my hamstring went out. And I hopped
on the way to first base.
I was turning the corner because I had easy double.
Did you stretch properly?
Let me tell you something about stretching. When you're my height, you don't stretch because there's nowhere to go. I have never stretched properly, and I thought I was immune. To having to stretch.
You have to stretch more than most because you're tighter. Everything's more compact and tight.
There is no human being tighter than me. Like, there's things you know about yourself. Like when I would go to, I had to have, I had some shoulder stuff. I still have shoulder stuff, and I had the therapeutic massage. Every single I literally had a therapeutic masseuse said, I've signed up to work with you because you're a huge challenge. I've never seen so tight as you are. Like, so I thought that was a way that I wasn't ever going to pull a muscle because I was so. But man, tired. I will tell you this: when you pull a hamstring, like you can't, it doesn't go. It's like the string is not attached. So, and you do have to worry about. It feels okay, but if you go too far, it happens again because it's got to heal. So he can't run and do all that. So it's just a bummer also because his biggest value is health for the Blazers. It's not necessarily what he's going to do. I mean, they do have like 5 centers. I mean, you did a thing on Reith, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Right. You remember that guy?
Oh, yeah. That dude started half the season last year, and he was my favorite story, you know? Like, how's he going to play? I guess the 4 can't guard, but we'll see. But so, you know, that was less like yuck because it's a hamstring and you know it's just time and he'll be okay. And the whole key is, does he give you a month of solid play where people are like, okay, that guy can play defense for us and we're trying to win this year. So we're not super concerned about him having a 5-year window. We would need him to have a 5-month window.
5-week window.
A 5-week window. So
May and June.
But it was a bummer because this is another guy that they traded for in the whole, Lillard thing, and he has yet to play at all. I mean, what did he get? Like 3 games
6
or something?
6.
Yeah,
6. Look, I asked Chauncey, did you just think to yourself, oh no, here we go again? And he said, yeah, you can't help but think that with all the injuries they've had. But he did credit, the changes they've made on the medical staff, et cetera, which I'm like, okay, well, I mean, injuries are injuries. I don't know if there's miracle workers out there, but you just have to keep guys from getting injured if that's possible. And sometimes it's just not. Sometimes you just have dudes who are going to get
stop Sharpe from driving the lane and falling. Like you're not.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Yeah. And if this season goes the way it went last season, it would just be in terms of injuries, it would just be an absolute disaster. Last year was bad, almost a wasted season. So yeah, hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come because I just can't do it. Like I can't go through this myself. This is all about me right now. It's not about the team.
That's what I felt bad for you.
Not about it's no fun. I can psych. Okay, I've covered a lot of things in my life. I've covered some bad things. I've covered some great things, obviously. I can psych myself up to cover something with enthusiasm if there are dudes to watch who might blossom. Yeah. Like that can be fun, right? When they're not available and they're not playing and you're watching dudes who are never going to blossom into more than maybe a rotational piece, that is horrible. And I know if it's horrible for me, it's horrible for fans, which is why fans stopped coming last year and why people had to dump their season tickets for next to nothing most of the season because people didn't want the tickets to go see a G League team. So the last thing this team can have happen is dudes who represent hope not play or represent an asset to be moved for more hope not play. And right now to start the season, we're starting out with 2 key components damaged, and that's not good. Let's just hope that's it. Maybe that'll be it. Maybe these will be the only 2. Right, Craig? It could happen.
Right. They'll have to create the injuries toward the end of the year. That's what we're hoping. Get to a place where you have to create them.
So like you said a minute ago, we're going to see more time from people who don't, move the needle. Delano Banton, Devontae Graham will both make the roster to start the season because you'll have the roster spot, assuming they put Sharpe on the injured list. But, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So let's talk about, we want to talk about FanFest or the first preseason game? Let's talk about FanFest as that's just happened. So FanFest was Saturday. Worst FanFest I've covered. Very boring in terms of the action. Right. There's been some FanFest where there's some nice action. This FanFest was just brutally boring to me, which is, who cares, right? But
here's what they didn't want to do: get hurt.
Well, that's huge. Oh, you didn't watch it, but they stopped it. They stopped it. Okay, but they stopped it with 5.9 seconds to go. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There was a foul. There was like a relatively real NBA foul. And Chauncey was like, that's it. And it was a 3-point game with 5.9 seconds to go. I'm like, wait. And the whole time I'm like, please get this over, please. But as soon as he did that, I was like, wait a minute.
You can't do that.
It's one possession game. We need a last second 3 or something. And so I bumped into him on the court. We only got one interview. It was Denny, and we didn't really want anymore. He was MVP. They don't even keep stats for these things. That's how informal it is, right? But I asked Chauncey, I'm like, yo, man, 5.9, what's up? 3-point game. He goes, man, after that foul, I don't want anyone to get hurt. We're out.
Of course.
Plus, it was sloppy. And he said, plus, it was sloppy. Yeah. And it was sloppy. It was not even remotely close to like good basketball. We were like, oh, yeah, this looks like a potentially good team. And again, I'm not saying they're going to be, we already know they're going to be not good, but I just didn't see anything out there that was like, that sparked any type of ooh or ah. It was just, very bland.
Was that they didn't know what speed to be at. Like guys were trying, like they didn't know how to, are we doing 3/4? Like they let an alley-oop go, clearly didn't try, but it didn't look.
That's usual. But you're gonna let the alley-oop go, but it's still just
I'm just saying, like even the alley-oop was at like 3/4 speed.
Right. Yeah. It's just a couple of years ago there was just a different spark to it. Last year was kind of bland. I don't know. It didn't inspire. It didn't. I know, but it didn't inspire anything. No one did anything where you were like, wow. So that was a little disappointing. And part of that might have been because Shaedon was out because he's the most spectacular guy.
Who brings the most wows had a sling on.
But before the game, I did a story. I went out and interviewed a few fans just to find out how they felt about the rebuild. And I'm walking around, the concourse, and I bumped into Cronin, who was talking to fans as well. To his credit, Joe was out there, shaking hands, taking pictures, talking to fans, which is great, really. Yeah. I mean, we think about it because he's the architect of where they are now and where they're going. And he's out there saying, hey, come talk to me if you want to. Ask me questions.
And he's a super nice guy.
Yeah. Tell me what you think.
As a human.
Very. And that was good. And, a brief conversation with him, he said a lot of positives from a lot of people. I actually joked with him. I said, well, the people I talked to are positive as well, except for one guy said he's only giving you one more tank year, one more, and then you guys start winning because he's paying too much for season tickets. And Joe laughed. I said, okay. I said, you better get Cooper Flagg and start winning next year. That's his order. But and I told him that I'm
going to get you a Cooper Flagg jersey.
Well, that's what the other guy said. When I told Joe, I said, I'm already assuming Cooper Flagg. I'm going to will it into existence. Every time I do my podcast, I'm just going to insert Cooper Flagg into the future lineup. But, the crowd was good. And it shows that despite what's been going on, there's still a lot of fans who just love their team and they have a lot of hope. I talked to a young couple who goes about 15 games a year, and they said, hey, they're down with what they're doing because now they did say they think the Blazers wasted Dame, right? And that they loved coming to games to see Damian, right? But he's gone, and they understand that tanking is a part of that, and that's how you get talent, especially in the small market. So that they both got it. So I didn't talk to 30 people or anything like that, but the people I talked to were positive about it.
Your audience was at FanFest. Those are the people who are going to come. Like you've already got people that are okay with it because they're coming. I mean, the issue is who's not at FanFest, who's not coming anymore because they've given up or whatever. FanFest people, you would hope they're still optimistic. I mean, they came, they put their jerseys on, they knew they weren't going to get good basketball. They just love it so much, and they'll support their team through almost anything. So your audience,
and it's free.
It's free, so you have a lot of people that are taking advantage of that, but also you're not going to be the grumbly, angry fan and go to FanFest because, like, what's your point? And FanFest is about kids because it's free and it's an experience that if you're a true basketball fan, it's not good basketball, right? So you're not there. And it wasn't like there was tons of, like you said, to look forward to. Clingan, your first chance for fans to see Clingan. Yay. I'm just saying, like, there's difference when you bring in the first time Scoot even last year. That was like, oh, wow, let's see. I want to see this guy. So, and when Dame was there, here's the thing about Dame. Such a showman. He always grabbed the mic or do, what I mean? Like, and it was fun. Like, making Clingan sing, that was all better when Dame was there doing it, just because he was so awesome at making people feel uncomfortable and comfortable at the same time. Like you could see how the rookies don't want to do that, but at the same time they do want to do it because it gets them closer to. And when it's Dame, one of the, the best players in the league, who's known to be a great leader.
All right, I just remembered something. I'm actually going to post something on this today. So let's talk about this before we close out here. The NBA.com's GM survey came out. Did you see that at all?
A little bit.
And so I went through it just to see, how many people from Portland popped up on there. So I'm going through it right now just real quick, and I'm going to see for every Portland person that pops up in a category. Okay. Which rookie will be the best player in 5 years? Also receiving votes, Donovan Clingan. So he finished 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. He finished 7th. He did finish behind Matas Buzelis, the Bulls pick, who went 11th versus Clingan at 7. Let me just tell you right now, Buzelis is legit. And I'm not just saying that because I am partially saying that because I'm a Bulls fan, but dude is good. So anyway, Clingan at least broke into the top 10 of that category, which he was a top 10 pick. So, okay. Next, which rookie was the biggest steal? He got 7% of the vote, tied for 7th with Buzelis, who was 11th. So people consider, at least some people thought he was a steal. Bud Carrington, though, was considered the number one steal. It's like 4 people were tied. Actually, 5 people were tied for first. So, and Bud Carrington is one of them, who went 14th with the pick the Bulls gave to Washington for Denny. Just a side note there. All right. Also receiving votes, and who was the most surprising move of the season? Denny received votes for that. And that's it.
Yep.
That's all. That's the only thing they come in. There's no, even in the top rising young stars where you would hope Scoot or Shaedon would be in, no votes at all. Literally just nothing else they pop up in at all. So if any fans are wondering, you're sitting around going, and this guy's going to be this, and that guy's going to be this, and this guy's going to be that. The GMs around the NBA do not see it that way at all. They're not looking at anyone on this roster other than Clingan, who was in a bad rookie class, to even vote for in any other category at all. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means why we're like upset that Sharpe's not playing, because he's one of those guys that if he did play more, might have been on that list. Scoot didn't play well enough to get on that list. Sharpe didn't, in my opinion, play long enough, healthy enough to get on the list. But if you look at this team, who even has the potential to be on that list? It's Sharpe and Scoot. And, to me, not having one of them on there. But look, Clingan was to me, how much I was like, if they get him at 7, it's great, because the draft class is not great. And I think he's going to have a role in the NBA. I don't think Clingan's going to be Jokic. That's a dream, and maybe it happens and it changes your entire franchise. But I do believe guys that size with that kind of physicality and defensive mentality can help a team. And they can help a team for a long time at his age. So, but who else would you think to even put on that list?
Well, so here's something. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season this year? And, they have 4, 5, 6, 7. They have about 15 people listed here, and not one Blazer. And that's including young guys. Both Thompson twins are on here, who were taken in last year's draft. Scoot's not on here, though. Derek Lively's on here. Brennan Miller, he went ahead of Scoot, but still. So my point is, you would breakout season. The fact that Scoot and Shaedon are both not on this list, and there's 15 guys good on this list. That
you have 3 top 10 picks. If you have 3 top 10 picks in the last 3 years, and none of them are on these lists, it's not good.
Right. And you have people on here who were drafted. You have people on here who were drafted behind.
Yep.
Scoot, and didn't necessarily have great years last year either. If you were starting a franchise today, they wouldn't be on that one. There's other people. I thought that's another rookie one. Anyway, so it's sort of eye opening, because sometimes when you're close to a team and you talk about someone's potential a lot, and the fans hear about it, and the fans get excited, you tend to always oversell.
Always.
Your guys, You see with Oregon all the time too, right? Oregon football. And then the NFL, like, this guy's amazing. Then the NFL draft comes along, they're a 7th round pick. You're like, wait, what happened? But this to me is the type of thing where it just clarifies for you right away that there's no one on this roster that the rest of the league is like, that dude's about to become something and at some level.
And the thing about GMs is you can't, people like to say, teams in Portland, they're often overlooked. And that could be said somewhat. But like a perfect example was Damian Lillard was nationally huge because people recognize his talent. Obviously, at charisma, he has all that. But GMs, they don't care when they're playing. They're looking at them all. They're not we don't really care about Orlando. They know everyone. And so it's not a popularity contest when it's GMs. They care about talent, and they've seen tape on all of them. And Scoot's the most disappointing right now because he was the 3rd overall pick, and people have now seen a lot of tape on him, and they're not putting him anywhere in that conversation based on what they saw. So he is going to have to really be different this year. And to me, it's still the most exciting thing is to see Scoot because he has blazing speed, really good athleticism. He was drafted 3rd overall because of what people thought was an upside. His body is NBA ready at his age. Like, he is advanced.
NFL ready.
Right. I mean, we're not waiting for him to fill out. So to me, it's all the other parts, like, can he shoot? Can he run an offense? Is it more than just spurts? What the players have said, have all been good, right? Like, he's more in control. He's a different player. We've both been around this long enough to know that's nothing. They never say, oh, yeah, he still, sucks. No one's ever said that, like they always say the right things. And practices are practicing against your own team. So who's he going against, right? Like, you would hope he's killing the guys that he's playing. He doesn't even have, vet point guards to go against that know tricks in practice. You know what I mean? Like,
the only guy in practice who could really maybe give him some trouble would be Matisse.
Right.
Like,
who's not really going to guard the –
I'd put Matisse on him the whole practice.
Of course. Yeah. But that's not what they're doing in practice, probably. He's running against another point guard that has less, who's not good.
Or probably Anthony, who's not a great defender.
Who odds are they're playing together, but if they are going against each other, he can't. We know defense isn't why he's, on. That's not his forte. So, but there's, it's not even like they have the veteran dude that's been in the league, the Ty Lues, or that might not be starters, but they've been in the league for a decade, and they're going to be like, hey, dude, if you do that, I'm just going to do this, and now you got nothing. Or when you go here, do that. So we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I almost forgot. Preseason game Friday.
Yeah.
In Seattle against the Clippers. They did this 2 years ago. They actually went up there yesterday after practice, and they plan to go to the 49ers Seahawks game on Thursday, and then go hang out at Jody Allen's house during the week as well. Practice there. Just be like a practice at her house.
Right. Because she's out there balling.
I guess she's got hoop court.
Yeah.
Indoor court for the guys to come practice in. She's out there draining threes. I want to hear about the 3-point contest between her and Ant and how she won. That's what I want to hear about. And then they have a game against the Clippers. What do you? It's a preseason, but what are you hoping to see? What positive sign would you like to see on Friday night to make you go?
Nobody else get hurt.
Is that it?
Well, I mean, look, preseason is not. It's nothing. Like, as far as they don't show anything, we're not looking to see first time. I mean, Klingon did play summer league, so let's see Klingon. We've already seen that the guys in FanFest, no one looks ridiculously out of shape. You know what I mean? We're not like going, oh goodness, that guy looks terrible. I mean, honestly, what are you going to do? You're going to play Scoot 18 minutes? Grant?
No, Scoot needs to get like 25 minutes. Here's what I want.
We'll see.
He's developing. Why would you hold him back? I want to see Scoot play 25 minutes, and I want to see evidence that he's grown. I want to see more confidence in his shot, getting to his spots, pulling up with authority, and also, of course, running the offense, getting people the ball. Just show that what you went through last year made you better, because he went through rookie hell last year.
Yeah, he did.
He got his ass kicked. He just did. But he learned from it, right? You learn from your butt kickings. And so Now, show that first preseason game, go out there and demonstrate that you've learned. That doesn't mean you're going to get a triple-double. It doesn't mean you're going to shoot well. He may shoot 4 for 14, but if it looks like his shot looks better and he's getting his shot and he's not hesitating and he's knowing when to either pull up or just attack the basket, kick it to somebody or what have you, that's all you want to see. Just a minimal amount of growth.
I'll take it. I mean, it won't mean anything.
You're just staring at me like, you're like,
well, I mean, you know what you're saying, and you know that it's preseason. So who is he going to play against, and what's it going to matter?
But it matters. Everything matters with this kid.
That's fine.
He came in ground zero. I say you got to go 10 steps to get to MVP caliber, right? He came in ground zero. He's at ground one, right? So there's a lot of room for growth. I want to see evidence of it. That's all.
I guess to me, that's like, in a way, and I'm not faulting you. It's like if you got to go to practice. And you want to see that every day in practice, which of course you do. But the truth is they don't count and no one's trying hard. So to me, the regular season is a big difference. But sure, I'd like to see I want to see him more vocal. And that, in that regard.
Craig, I'm trying here.
I know. I'm just being honest with you.
I have 86 games. I have 86
games. The only thing you can come up with.
And I'm trying to look for something positive, and you're just shooting it down.
So you're
just like a New Yorker. You're just shooting it down. I'm just kidding.
I'm looking for Chris Murray to go 3 for 4 from 3, like that. Then let's go there.
There's something.
Yeah.
There's something.
All right. I do. I mean, I am interested in seeing Klingon play against NBA players. I want to see it, that part. So as far as a preseason game, that's where we're at. But to me, there's two, when you're looking at preseason basketball, I don't know what they want from it. So it's hard to judge it because it's really what does Chauncey want and the coaching staff want from it? What are they looking? Because they could very easily go in and say, we're not playing Grant. And we're not playing, Simon. Just because it's preseason, we don't want, they got a thumb or they got he's got a stomach ache. That happens all the time. Like, how many games did Damian Lillard play in the preseason? So, and then it just changed. You're like, so what do you want to see? Like, if they're going to be telling Scoop, we want to run these 6 plays. I don't know what they are. So I don't know if he's going to execute those 6, right?
I want to see pace. We want to see pace. We want to see evidence of pace. Yeah. Although, Dwight James made a great point. He and I were talking at the mixer, and he's like, I've heard every team almost ever in the history of Portland talk about playing with pace. He goes, but the problem is you want to play with pace and you want to run, but you got 82 games.
Right.
At some point, you're going to have the coach out there going, let's go, let's go, let's go. And the players are going to come to the court going, you go. Like, it's a back-to-back game, our 4th game in 6 days. Like, we're not trying to set the pace record today. So, but still, I want to see some evidence.
With pace is you got to get a stop. It's harder to run out of the basket.
Yeah, well, okay. Dwight told a good story too about how when he covered the Lakers, or not covered the Lakers, but when he would watch Lakers practices back in the day at Kareem and Magic, he said they ran stuff designed to run after a make, and they would work on it, like Kareem or Worthy or whoever would get the inbound and get it out, and guys would be running certain patterns, so someone would come in the middle to get the ball, and then the other guys would be feeling it. Like he's like, you got to really work. Yeah, you got to really work on it. So I want to see evidence that they're working on it, that you're going. And that's going to be one thing to track, right? Do the pace numbers jump up this year?
Can't go slower.
Listen, when I'm reaching for stuff, you have to show me some support, all right?
I know, but you're talking about the preseason. Like,
I got to get through the preseason. I got to get through the preseason somehow.
Baby. Let's run, baby. Let's go.
It's how you prepare.
Yeah, but my only thing is in preseason, coaches don't always decide that, right? They hold back.
Okay.
So you might not get that, and it won't be a negative. It'll be like that's not what they want.
Oh, it'll be a negative. I better get it. Don't talk. Yeah. If you talk about it, I better get it.
Denny, I want to see Denny. I want to see how he fits with the team. I want to see how they use him. Because to be honest, there's talk about obviously when you lose Sharpe, there's more minutes for playmaking for others to have the ball in their hands, and we know that Grant's not that. But everyone talks about how Denny could be a point forward. I'm like, really? Like, okay, let's see it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They've been talking about it.
So I want to see that. I want to see those playmaking skills. I'm excited for Denny. I mean, and so this will be my first time seeing him play in that whatever system they choose, and that'll be fun. So there you go.
Well, this will be the first guy they've had that I can remember who can play the 4, rebounds like not like a demon, but he rebounds well. And when he gets the rebound, he can just go. He's not looking to outlet. He's gone. And so they all know that when he gets rebound, they can all just take off because he doesn't have to get it to a point guard or get it to a guard. He can just go himself. So now you got him leading the break up the middle and everyone else is spreading out and filling lanes and stuff like that, which will create something that's pretty interesting because we haven't seen that. You wouldn't want Grant to do that. Winslow was someone who could do some of that, but not quite maybe as athletic.
His ankle twisted in game like 7.
He definitely could run some point forward. But with the fact that they want to play with pace, the fact that they have a forward who can rebound, at 80 game last year, and he can go take it up and go is going to be interesting.
To be fair, Josh Hart basically played the 4, got 15 rebounds a game.
Hart gave you some of that. He gave you some of that.
He totally does that. I mean, that's a guy who's had 3, averages. He's had 19 rebounds.
I thought more as a guard, but you're right. He did play a lot.
But not the way the Blazers played him and when he plays in the league. Yeah. But yes, he's traditional. You don't traditionally look at power forwards at 6'4". That's not how you're thinking.
No, you don't. Unless they're Charles Barkley, who allegedly was 6'4". All right. Well, we're gonna have a talk later about how you're gonna handle me psychologically this season. How you gotta let me have my moments and not completely douse a gallon of ice water on them as I'm fishing for things to keep me awake at games. All right. That's it for the Blazer Focus podcast. We will be back next week to talk about the Blazers. What's their second preseason game? Is that Monday?
You're a beat writer.
Can you hear me typing? Isn't it hilarious when I start typing?
Yeah, I'm just going to admit, I do not know.
It's Monday. Sunday at the Kings.
There you go.
We got 2 preseason games this weekend, and we're going to come back next week, and we're going to talk about what we saw and how
we're watching preseason basketball, baby,
and how little it mattered to Craig. At least it all matters to me. See you guys next week on the Blazer Focus podcast.